Addressing tax avoidance and evasion are, of course, important objectives of the Treasury, and finance bills and other legislation are the vehicles to do this. But as with all tax changes, government must assess and respond to the unintended consequences of any of their changes. This government have a terrible track record on tackling tax evasion and aggressive tax avoidance. They've consistently stood in the way of Labour calls to clamp down on loopholes, and they've failed to collect over $30 billion in taxes every year. They've promised to legislate on these issues, but their current proposals in this bill fall far short of any substantive change. Instead, they've been responsible for an increasingly complex system of payment, fraught with difficulties and risks for the unsuspecting worker. A growing number of working people need to work on a contractor basis, either for personal reasons or because it's the only way of getting work in their sector or with their professional skill set. Increasingly, the alternative to being a contractor is to be a PAYE freelancer, pay tax in full, but without any of the rights of being an employee and all of the costs of being self-employed. This is zero rights employment, and it is unfair. So, Ms McDonough, we need an effective tax avoidance policy that would criminalise those promoting tax avoidance and not go for the workers inadvertently caught up in them, as this government and HMRC have been doing with the loan charge in particular. It's the wrong target, and whilst ordinary people who are victims of mis-selling are facing ruin and bankruptcy, the government has so far done too little and too late to go after those who promoted the schemes. I acknowledge that this bill does contain measures to tackle the promoters of tax avoidance and changes the system of penalties, but these measures are extremely limited in scope. Indeed, these changes are not even included in the budget report costings, which suggests that their financial impact must be minimal. IR35 was enacted 21 years ago to stop the practice of those who were in reality permanent, generally full-time workers from being paid as contractors through personal services companies, as many were paying much less tax than if they had been employees. It was right to address that tax avoidance, but the government must address the unintended consequences for workers and for the labour market that have followed since then.